This is the Ace Founder Podcast.
So, welcome to the show, Justin. It's an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thank you, Xavi. I'm really excited to talk with you and to enlighten your listeners.
Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to be talking about finance today. In fact, I think you're going to kick off our finance month, actually. I was actually going to do look for some financial experts to come and chat to our audience. And, yours is perfect timing. And as always, I like to kick off every episode by allowing my guests to introduce themselves, because you're going to do a way better job at it than I do. So could you tell us a little bit more about you and about the work you do?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Justin D Maxwell. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. I am a partner in a firm that offers family office services for low to mid-market business owners. And family office services is something that a lot of people don't know what that term even means. They've kind of heard or have an idea. So let me just describe it. So it's the unification of all financial, legal, and tax, and even business professionals into a unified collaborative unit, so that low to mid-market business owners aren't getting siloed advice. So instead of having the accountant saying X and the financial advisor saying B and the insurance person saying Y and your business moving towards Z, you have a unified approach where everyone's rowing the same direction, everyone's saying the same philosophy, everyone's singing the same song, so that we're creating the probability that you're going to reach your wealth and that wealth aspirations with more certainty. And so that's what we operate. I'm a father of 4 children. I have a beautiful wife. I'm very passionate about the idea behind generational wealth and creating a legacy that doesn't get consumed, but actually perpetuates giving, perpetuates production, perpetuates the ability to continue to grow and make an impact on this earth. And we believe that outcome comes to pass with high probability when we have a unified team of professionals that are backing and doing what we're declaring.
I really like that. And you're spot on. I've never come across that term before. And so I'm guessing that will save your clients having to hire separate professionals. You could have kind of like an all-in-one kind of thing.
Yes, correct. It's we like to be a one-stop shop for the low to mid-market business owner, the person who is doing quite well, like they're making lots of money in comparison to most people. They've figured out the business game. They're making at very least high 6 figures, 7 figures plus in revenue, but they still, for whatever reason, their money making isn't translating into wealth building. And that's, we feel, is the missing piece to actually pull that off with the greatest probability.
So interesting. When you say the missing piece, what does that look like? Because a founder could be making so much money, but you said they're not hitting that generational wealth kind of thing. So what is that? What do you find is that missing piece?
Yeah, so it's this. So my experience is this is what happens is most people grow up in either a middle class household or even a household that's in poverty. They set their wealth expectations based off of that environment that they came from. Their business comes along and starts making world-class money, way more money than they've ever made before, but their wealth aspirations, their wealth habits, their wealth behaviors haven't changed. They're the same wealth aspirations they had when they were in their middle class or poverty state environment. And so now their behaviors are still behaving as if that's where they are, but they're making a lot more money. So is what happens is a lot more money comes in, but you end up with you have more money, but your total overall expenditure rises. And so you're essentially living the same lifestyle, just making more money. And what we've experienced is that most business owners that do this and meet this and create this environment, they end up exactly where most people end up, which is just middle class, normal, everyday outcomes. And we believe that it's because there's this disconnect between I was here, I'm now making this, but they haven't adjusted their expectations, they haven't adjusted their behaviors to actually take advantage of all this new money. It's the same principle as if anyone's familiar with Parkinson's law, where I've expanded space with money, and because I haven't given it a job, it just gets consumed by whatever my spending habits were before. So essentially people are self-sabotaging themselves from who they used to be and self-sabotaging their future self because they haven't changed who they are with the amount of money that they're currently making.
That is very, very interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, because of a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, they come from not many come from wealthy background or with even financial knowledge or knowledge background. So you could easily get sucked into a position where you stumble on money and you're still, like you said, you're still behaving a certain way. So I'm guessing that's where somebody like you could come and show them, you shouldn't be doing this or you should be doing this, and then this will get you even more, well, more money and more time, I guess.
Yeah,
Very,
that's correct.
yeah.
Yeah, it's this idea that we so if we think about it this way, the vast majority of the world doesn't have the amount of money that the founders that we're talking about have. So all of the financial advice, all of the financial wisdom isn't speaking to them because you're in the 5%, the top 1%, the top 3%. So the most of the financial knowledge, most of the ideas are driven to get the middle class, the person in poverty, to stability when they retire. That's the idea. How can we make it so that you're not reliant upon the government for income so you can actually live a life that is survivable, maybe even doing some fun things along the way, but at bare minimum survivable when you're not working anymore. But when you're a founder who's making low six figures, mid six figures, seven figures in personal income, like that advice is helpful to give you stability, but it's not helpful for you getting to aspirations and creating a generational outcome. It doesn't create that for you. It creates the stability that is taught to the vast majority of people. So if you're just trying to do what everyone else does or you're trying to remain middle class, then do that. But if you have aspirations to create generational outcomes, that's where the things that we're talking about today can really make a difference when it comes to actually reaching your maximum potential instead of just reaching a point of stability.
I love that. I love that, and it makes a lot of sense. It's a very unique position you guys have positioned yourself over there. Like, so I wonder, is that something common in the industry, or is that how you guys differentiate
Yeah,
yourself?
it's not very common at all. Most professionals. So let me say it this way: it's very common the more wealth someone gets. So if you're getting into at $20 million net
I see.
worth, like you're going to start seeing this idea a lot more. But under
I
20
see.
million, it's a I don't want to call it a wild west because there's great professionals out there because you can hire a fantastic tax accountant. You can hire
Right.
an extraordinary financial advisor. But the thing that messes people up is that they think that just because I hire these people, that they're going to be on the same page, that they're going to be sharing in my aspirations. But is what usually happens in the world for these entrepreneurs that are doing more better, making more money than most people, is they're actually hiring a lot of professionals that are piecemealed together and they have different philosophies, different ideas. Those professionals are still trying to give you the same message of stability and middle class outcomes. So the world, for the low to mid market business owner who's doing about a million to about $25 million in revenue, that person doesn't get this service in most instances. So we're a very unique fish in that marketplace. For people above us, it's very common, but people below that area, not doesn't exist right almost at all.
Makes sense. Like a almost product market fit, service market fit over there. Really, really cool. And then you talk about how to stop founders from guessing what their businesses actually need, which is a very interesting term. What do you mean when you say that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so most founders, again, this person we're talking about, this person who has pretty much gritted their way, they've pushed through, they've grinded their way to creating success. Because as you mentioned and I mentioned, most of these people didn't come from anything. So they had an idea, they had this vision of what they wanted to create. They started a business. It was really, really hard. They had to put in tons of hours. They finally started getting the ball rolling. They finally started hiring people. And now they've created this enterprise that's running well. It's paying them a lot of money, but they just keep relying on that same instinct that got them to where they are. So they grinded their way through just sheer grit, got them to where they're going. But when you get to the level of business of a seven figure revenue business that's trying to get to move up into an eight figure business, that grit has a ceiling. Like you can only push so hard. There's only so much the founder can do. And so most founders either become stagnant with they just settle in as I guess this is how big my business can go, or they just start randomly guessing. So they'll go to masterminds or they'll just randomly start hiring things and they just pull in random different resources, different hires, different AI
I
tools,
see.
and they're not sure which one is right because they don't know because they've never really relied on great business strategy before. It's just been them. They are the output of what their business is. So
Interesting.
is what we have to do is you have to take that energy of grit and grinding and transform it into how can I get good business strategy here. And most business owners at that seven figure range have never had someone actually evaluate their business and tell them this is what your business looks right now, this is what the unit economics of your business say, this is what it's capable of. Is that actually capable of getting you to your aspirations, or do you have to change some things? And that can be a hard thing because most business owners, like we know, they've never had someone give them good world class business strategy for. So is what we like to help them do is stop viewing your business as this thing that you're the operator of and start instead viewing it as an asset that you need data for, you need information on, just like as if you were owning a real estate property. You want to know what is the current marketplace, like what's the rent on my property, what's the upside of this, what's it going to appreciate. Like people don't just buy. Well, hopefully people aren't just buying real estate without knowing what's coming. They're not just doing it
Yeah.
haphazardly. They want to know what's the upside, and too many business owners don't know what the upside of their asset is. So they just keep grinding through it. So we want to open up this door and reveal to people that your business is actually capable of this, and this is the things you have to change to make it become the thing you're aspiring it to become. And too many business owners don't do that. But if we looked at a $50 million revenue business, like they're not guessing at that. They know exactly what it is their business is capable of. They know where their holes are. They know the things they have to change. They know what the business that they're trying to become looks like. They know this is what our CAC is, our customer acquisition cost is, what our LTV is for the business we want to become. Now we know the end point, we know where we are right now. What do we have to do to make up that? Too many business owners have no idea what their endpoint is, and they don't know what they are right now, and they're just grinding their way, hoping that they latch on to something and that it just becomes a world overnight success. But for most business owners, that's not the case, and so they hit this ceiling point of I'm not going to get to where I want to go, and they become okay with that. And for us, we want to unlock this idea that you don't have to be okay with that. You can behave like businesses ahead of you and actually get the data, understand where you are, understand where you're going, and then start making deliberate choices that get you to your endpoint.
I really like that because you're spot on. Like you tend to get to be honest, you don't even need to get to that 1 million point, but you tend to get to a point in your career where you're like, even climbing higher, even though you want to climb higher, but you're not sure how to get there, or then you're just relaxing, you just cool everything, you just
Well, it
stable,
feels like more
and
work because
yeah,
everything that you add on
yeah,
has always been more work. But it doesn't have to be
okay,
more work. It can just be a different strategic approach. And you're correct, it doesn't have to be a million. It can be 500,000, it can be 300,000. But at some point there's a ceiling to everything that we're describing here
yeah,
where if I do anything more, I can't I'm already maxed out capacity wise.
yeah.
So you have to shift from I'm an owner operator to I'm an owner investor, and that shift, even if it's a mindset shift, is a part of that process of how you can grow without adding more work.
I love that mindset shift right there towards an owner investor. That changes a lot actually when you start seeing yourself as an investor. So yeah, that could that's powerful stuff. Interesting. And then you talk about the 5 keys framework. I'm guessing this is part of your process to helping them make that shift and helping them get to that beyond that point.
Yes, our five keys framework is helping founders make this transition from an owner operator to an owner investor, but it really just helps them start making better decisions because we talked about just previously how business owners don't know what decision to make next to actually grow their business. So they just start grabbing lots of stuff and Frankensteining it together. The five keys gives them a path to decisions that increases the probability that their decisions are actually going to be the right decision that's going to take them to the next step. So key number one is you have to know what it is you're actually moving towards. So you have to have a vision of what it is you're going to. And a lot of founders that I meet with just throw out random numbers. They'll say, well, I want to be a $5 million business, or I want to be a $50 million business. But they have no idea what that looks like or how that even is. It just sounds good to them because, again, if we go back to our earlier conversation, most of these founders didn't grow up in a position to even know what is possible for them or what they're actually worthy of having in the future. So they're often afraid to say, I want a $15 million business in 10 years. They're afraid to say it because then if they say it and they don't reach it, they're going to feel like they're a failure or they don't actually feel worthy that $15 million is enough for them. So key one is you got to define clearly what it is that you want personally. What is your personal aspiration telling you? Once you know your personal aspiration, you can now look at your business and say, is that capable of getting me to my personal aspiration? If I keep doing what I'm doing today, is it ever going to reach that? And for a lot of founders, that is a hard question because they're going to be told, no, you have to change the way you're doing things to have that aspiration come to pass. Well, what needs to change in the business to make that possible? Once you have the vision of what the business needs to become, now it's not just your personal vision, it's your employees' vision. So everyone on your team needs to know what it is your business is building to. So you have to have a personal vision first, but now you have to have alignment with your employees. So the CEO, the COO, your leadership team, your first hire basic employee, and we're just going to label them the janitor, has to know what it is the business is building towards. So if I went up to your employees and asked them, what does this business stand for? Where is it going? What's it becoming? They should all give me a very similar answer. That's exactly the same answer you would give. But I would bet
Interesting.
that if I went to employees of most business owners' businesses and asked the first leadership, highest paid employee, what's the vision of the company? And then when I asked another employee and I asked you, they would all give three different answers because there isn't an aligned vision of where you're going. You have to have the aligned vision, but it has to start with you first. So key one is personal vision paired into business vision. We call it the alignment of business, personal, and financial goals so that everyone's going in the same direction. It's the same purpose behind that family office idea that we talked about earlier is you have to have alignment between where you're going. And so many founders don't have alignment because they don't even know where they're going. So their employees have no idea where they're going. So they can't inspire people to go with them on the journey. Everyone's just doing their thing, and sometimes that works out great, but the probability is you're never going to arrive anywhere because you're not working towards anything. So key one is you have to have an aligned vision.
That is really cool because I was gonna ask one of the questions I was gonna ask as we were talking earlier was like, you really need to know where you're going. That is super important. If the something like a service or this will not be valuable to you, but yeah. So if key one is aligning the vision, then what is the key two?
Yeah, so key two is once I have a vision of where I want to go, now I can start to ask those questions of if I keep doing what I'm doing in sales right now, so the amount of sales that we're doing and the growth that we're having year over year or quarter over quarter, are we ever going to hit that vision as a company? And for a lot of people, the answer is no, but sometimes the answer is yes. So that it's just it's like a filter of are we on track or not? So if we're on track, then just keep doing what you're doing, pour more fuel on the fire, and see if you can do it faster, see if you can push into it faster. But for the people that the answer is no, well, what do we have to change in our sales department to make that future a reality? So key two is now we have to create priorities of what we're doing right now to create the outcome of our future. So the phrase I like to use is, if I keep doing what I'm doing in sales, do I have any probability of reaching the aspiration of the business? And if the answer to that is no, well, what things need to change? That's now the priority for this quarter. So we've just created a priority for our sales team because we know where we're going. So now we're setting very specific priorities for the company so that we can reach the aspiration we're looking for. So we might have to eliminate things because it might as we're going through this exercise, we might have an initiative that we just started. Like I'm just going to throw out one. Let's just say that we're rebranding the website and we're changing all the look and the aesthetics and the colors. Well, is spending time and money on that going to help us create the outcome? For some founders, the answer is yes. For others, that's not a priority right now. We have to shift our priorities and spend our time and money and energy on things that are actually going to move us towards what we're doing. So it might mean that we need to eliminate some things that we're doing, but it really helps us start to refine what is the steps that our business needs to be taking right now to get to where we want to go. And for a lot of founders, they've never gone to that level of detail. And that helps us determine, like, if we go to a lot of masterminds and we're hearing all these great speakers, they're all good, but which ones are the right ones to actually choose that can get us to where we want to go? So, key two is setting the priorities based off of what the vision tells us the direction we're going to.
That's sweet. And then key three, what's that? After you've figured out how to get there, what will be the next step?
Yeah. So, key three is our employees. So, if we're doing this right, our employees know where we're going. They have an idea of what the priorities are moving towards. But to create the outcome we're looking for, we have to have people producing. And oftentimes, founders, and myself included, we think we're better communicators than we actually are. So we'll say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. The employee hears A, B, and C. They give you something back, but it's not what you wanted it to be. So key three is what we call defining what good looks like. So it needs to be clearly articulated to everyone needs to know what good looks like for their role in the priorities in the vision. So I need to have very clear metrics on what good looks like in your role. So you can't fall below good. If we fall below good, we're not going to hit our priority and we're not going to hit our vision. So you need to know how hard you need to be working, how many hours you need to be working, how does your communication need to be, how fast you respond to emails, like whatever the role is, there needs to be a definition in clear as day that anyone could look at it and know, well, that person's not performing up to snuff, or that person's way exceeding it, and maybe we need to adjust what good looks like because that's actually what good looks like, not what we defined it as. So you have to clearly articulate for everyone so everyone knows what the expectations are. There's no guessing. So managers can now hold employees accountable, but employees can now hold managers accountable because it's been clearly defined for everyone. The manager can't come to an employee and say, well, why didn't you do this? Well, because that's not what good looks like. You didn't tell me that that was a part of what good actually looks like, so that wasn't a part of my expectations. I was performing what good looks like, but because most people don't define it, the high achievers will overperform or work really hard. But for most employees, they need clear articulation of this is your role, this is how you do it, this is what good looks like, this is what we're expecting. And it needs to be across every role in your company so that everyone's moving towards. But all of those definitions are to meet the priority, which then help you reach the vision in the time frame that you're seeking.
Wow, these are some really, really super valuable stuff that could actually improve your business, actually. Because if you're not doing this, and you're spot on, sometimes you work with people and you're not necessarily clear about, yeah, this is exactly what I expect from you, or this is KPI from you. But this is, you could totally transform their business by the time they get to step 3 and they're executing.
Yeah, just this, and it really is this because again, I'm guilty of this. Like I still even though like I know what this is a great key. I still will under communicate what good looks like to people, and then I get frustrated. But it wasn't my fault. It's not their fault. It's my fault because I didn't define what it is I wanted clearly enough to them because they didn't perform it. So this is on the managers, the owners, the leaders to really get clear as possible. How can I make this? Everyone I show this what good looks like could perform it. They wouldn't have any questions of what their expectations were.
Brilliant. And what about key 4?
So key 4 is now that we've gone through this process, now we're asking them. I love this equation. So X plus Y equals Z. So if we do X and Y, and we can say X is the time, the energy, the budget. The Y is, do you know what good looks like? Do you have all the support? Do you have all the leadership team? Do you have enough people on your team? If we do X and Y, is Z inevitable? Like, are we going to hit Z? And Z is our outcome. Z is the outcome for the quarter or the priority, or we could even go even bigger macro to the overall vision. So if we do X and Y, are you 90% confident that Z will happen? And you're not just looking for like a nod, like, yeah, I can do it. Like, you want feedback because you're trying to set your priorities based off of everyone knows what good looks like. Are we confident we can hit it? Because there's what will happen when you, every business owner knows this, when you bring on this new initiative or this new thing, like, employees don't talk back very much. They just want to do what everyone tells them to do. But you need the feedback as the founder. You need to know if I give you this task, are you confident, 90% confident that Z is going to happen? And if not, what needs to change? Do we need to give you more budget? Do you need more team? Do you need to be trained more?
Interesting.
Do you need my support more? Like, what is it that's missing to help you have the 90% confidence that Z will actually come to pass? And as you get this activity, it's going to take a little bit of pulling in the beginning, but as you get it going, you're going to find that employees are going to give you valuable feedback that will tell you, wow, I actually didn't realize that we're missing this piece here. And everyone keeps saying the same thing. We got to address this if we're going to have Z come to pass. So it allows this feedback loop of we are moving towards a goal. And when we say we're 90% confident, we're not just shaking our head because we're haplessly, mindlessly agreeing. We're doing it because we actually believe that if we do it, we're going to hit the outcome. And now you, as the owner and founder, have the confidence that they were going to hit the outcome. And if we're not hitting it, like, what went wrong? It creates a loop for us that most founders don't go into this level of detail. But now you can train your managers to be thinking this way. You can train every employee, like, am I going to hit my outcome with confidence? And if not, what needs to change? And if yes, let's go test it and let's go do it. And if we didn't hit it, let's reevaluate. And if we did hit it, let's keep doing it, because now we're working towards creating that vision that we thought about in the beginning with key one.
That is crazy, man. This is I wasn't expecting this actually. This is like this is more like business training and business improvement. I'm sure there's a there's a word for it, but it's some comprehensive thing you do, even way more than the wealth building side
Well,
of
let
things.
me
Very
tie
very
it back to the
interesting.
wealth thing, because one of the
Yeah,
problems that
yeah.
founders the mistake they make is they think that their business is going to sell for something in the future, but it's not attractive to anyone.
Uh,
And so they don't reach their wealth aspirations because they put all their eggs in this business basket and it never comes to pass. So is what we try to bring to the table is you have to make your business as a part of your wealth journey. So you have to go to this level of detail to make it an
I see.
asset so that it can be a part of your wealth journey, so that your wealth aspirations actually can be met. So while this is very business focused, we could do this exact same exercise with all of our investment strategy, with all of our tax strategy, with all of our overall wealth goal. Like, this framework isn't just for business. It's easier to articulate in the business setting. But I actually
Definitely.
think that we need to stop siloing business from wealth. If we truly are entrepreneurs that have generational wealth aspirations, our business is just as much a part of our wealth aspirations as the investment portfolio we have or the insurance we buy.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. Because you're spot on. Like a lot of founders might want to sell sometime, and if you don't have these internal engine operating like this, man, it could be a challenge selling even. Very interesting. So, what's the final? I'm excited now. What's the final key
Yeah.
now in all
The
this?
final key
Yeah,
is what's in it for them. What's in it for everyone? Like, what do we get when we win? When we hit our big vision goal, how do you win? What do you get when we, as a company, when do you get when you get there? But also, when we're on this 90-day quarterly cycle, what do we get when we hit the Z at the end of the 90 days? Like, what's the upside? What do we
yeah,
continue to have? Is there bonuses? Is there special parties? Is we have to have a clear vision of our employees know what's in it for them, because if they know what's in it for them, they're not leaving. Because as long as they can see themselves winning inside of the vision that you've created, they're not going anywhere. So they have to know that. They have to see it, and you have to articulate it to them. What's in it for them when we accomplish this, and how do we, when we reach our visions, how do you win? As along the way, what are the rewards you're getting? What's the security you get by being here? What do you win when we are reaching the aspirations that I have? But my aspirations are big enough to also include you.
I love it. This is powerful stuff. I could see how somebody going through this framework and you working with you, they end up with an even more valuable business, and then pushing towards that generational wealth thing. So it's, and like you said initially, exposing some gaps. I'm sure you've worked with companies where you've exposed so many gaps. So I can see how this framework can do that for them. Justin, this has been an awesome chat, very enlightening. It was way more than I expected. I thought we were going to be strictly financial, but me, I'm a super fan of business, so this is something that truly excites me. I always like to wrap up with a final tip. If you could share one final tip or leave our audience with something to take away from this episode, what would that be?
Yeah, the final tip is I think it's this. It's don't too many people try and silo everything. So they think all these things they're doing are different. The investment I make, how I run my business, how I pay my taxes, how I think about estate planning. Like they're going and doing all these things, but they're not intertwining the glue between them. And when you intertwine the glue that connects all these different financial, legal, tax things as one, you're actually creating the opportunity to create generational wealth. And that's the thing that I think is missing from most financial plans, most financial advisors, most tax advisors, is it's not just tax. It's the business impacts tax. It's not just investing. It's the estate plan affects how I invest. Like all of it is interconnected, and too many people try and do things without them being interconnected. And I think that that's why so many people fall short, is because they're not gluing everything together. And I think the 5 keys helps glue all of those things together if you ask the question in that vertical. And so that's why I thought it would be a good topic for our conversation today.
It's a brilliant topic, and I could see how that's such a really big glue for, like you said, for the business. Brilliant, Justin. Where can our viewers go learn more about you and what you do? Possibly work with you. What's the best way for them to do
Yeah,
that?
so I think the easiest way is if you want to just follow me. I produce content on YouTube and I produce content on LinkedIn very frequently. So LinkedIn and YouTube are probably the 2 easiest places to follow me. If you're interested in working with us, you can go to our website, biglifefinancial.com, and you can check out our website. You can look at it. You can schedule times. You can be interactive with us. But if you're just interested in more of the content that I'm producing, you can just Google or look on LinkedIn, Justin D Maxwell, and you'll find me, and we can connect there, and you can just follow along.
Brilliant. And we're going to include all of that in the show notes. Once again, Justin, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.